So for the ones who don't know Ask Phill yet, I will do a small intro and tell you a bit about the talk we're going to have today. Ask Phill is an e-commerce agency, and what we build scalable, data-driven e-commerce platforms, and we do that mainly on the Shopify platform. We founded our company back in 2016. And currently we have 28 employees. We've seen since the last couple of months during Corona, the amount of clients increased a lot, the size of the projects increased, and we really saw that e-commerce is getting more and more important.
Yeah, and I think it's also really the time to shine if you're in e-commerce at the moment.
Yeah, I think what we see with our clients, it's really e-commerce is booming, and you should make sure you're geared up for the new reality.
Yeah.
And we're a Shopify Plus agency, and most of our clients are in the lifestyle, fashion, and beauty industries. But besides our agency, Paul and me also invest in direct-to-consumer brands. So we will tell you a bit more about our knowledge about that and what we do. So there's a nice picture of us, if you haven't seen us yet. So as I said, we also, beside our agency, invest in D2C brands. And currently, we have 3 companies which we help with doing business. That's Gaia. It's an online fashion brand. It's Parfumado, a perfume subscription service. And it's Cycle Care. It's a content commerce platform, really about women's health. So I think for today, our topic will be to talk about the 7 fundamentals for building a successful D2C platform.
Yeah, I think quite an exciting topic. We see, of course, a lot of brands starting from 0 and going to 1. And we see all the lessons learned, so I think it's
It's quite interesting we always see clients coming in, some with really good ideas, some with less good ideas, but
interesting ideas, I would say.
Yeah, it's always nice to get inspired, and for us, when we're talking to people at our agency, it's always like, okay, do they have something special? How are they gonna scale this business? And we have 7 fundamentals, let's say, where we look at and what we think is super important to take into account. So I think let's just start with the first one.
Yes.
So test your business assumptions. What do you think about that, Paul?
So it's always the first question we ask to the clients who come in with a new business idea is, did you test your assumptions? We see a lot of great ideas, but also some bad ideas. And it's always good to test your assumptions, especially now it's so simple to test them. And I think maybe we can just show a small example of how we test our assumptions. Yeah,
I think it's super important when you have a good idea that you test your idea to more people than just your family and friends. Because most of the time they're not honest if you have a bad idea. And now in the times of, let's say, the possibilities of the internet, it's super easy to test your idea online with a low budget.
Yeah, definitely.
So maybe you can tell a bit about the project we were looking at last year and how we tested that.
Yeah, it was quite an interesting project. So it was selling Viagra online, and we have a startup in the States doing it at the moment.
They're super successful.
Yeah, they're super successful. They don't only sell Viagra, it's their biggest, market, but they also sell hair loss products, deodorant, skincare. And it was super interesting because they started, 2 years ago, and they're just grow and grow and grow. And we thought, okay, this is a good idea. Let's check if it's also a good idea in Europe.
Yeah, and I think the cool thing about this concept was, or I think the advantage of copying a US company is that they will never make the move to Europe. It's quite hard because in the US you have one currency, you have one language, and in Europe there are 16 languages. Yeah, 2 currencies, but coming from the US, it's quite hard to understand how to maneuver to the consumers.
Yeah, I think so as well with shipping, tax laws, it's quite hard. Even for our clients from Europe, it's still quite hard to manage it.
So for this project, we decided, we looked at the company HIMS, we said, let's see if we can bring this to Europe. And we started testing to see if our ID, that it would be a success, was actually valid.
Yeah,
Can you tell a bit more about how we can test a proposition like this?
Yeah, of course. So it's quite simple actually. We just built a fake Facebook page. In this case, we called it Mascool. And we just made an ad, and that ad was redirected to a landing page. And the landing page, you could see some products that were also fake. And if you could also subscribe to a newsletter. And if you subscribe to a newsletter, you would get, how do you call it?
A survey?
A survey, yeah. And then you can ask some questions or answer some questions just for us to get an insight in what the people on the internet want.
Yeah, so it was really like testing what does it cost to make someone click.
Yeah.
And based on that decide, is there appetite for this product? Because if you would run an ad and nobody clicks, then you know nobody wants it.
No. So we looked at the click-through rate for this ad to see how many people saw the ad and then clicked through it.
And then I think here on the next slide you can see examples of different ads we tested.
Yeah.
So first we tested the concept itself, but we also tested where do people click on? What is the type of language we need to use when talking to the consumers, and what has the highest click-through rate? It was quite interesting to see, and you already get a lot of knowledge.
Yeah, we got a lot of knowledge, and it was quite successful as well. So it was, as you can see, the click-through rates are quite high, so that's nice. And the nice thing, you can show the next slide. So the nice thing is that because the topic was quite controversial, it was controversial, we got a lot of reactions on the ads, and due to the reactions, we got more exposure, and then it grew and grew and grew. So it was quite nice. And I think if you're Dutch, there are quite some funny comments in there as well. So
so it's actually quite cool that if you see an ID, you copy it with a fake name, a fake website, fake ads.
Yeah.
You can already get feedback from the ads, seeing what consumers like or what they think about it. And I think here we have some more information on the budget we have.
Yeah, it was super cheap. I think we spent around €400 and we got a lot of feedback. It cost us €6.50 for one survey to be filled in. So it's a lot of steps for a consumer to do: sign up, click on the ad, sign up, and then go to the survey, fill in the survey. And we got a lot of responses for not so much money. So we could really validate the business.
So with like €500-600, you can validate if people like the product, if they're willing to click on the ad, if they're willing to leave their details. And then you can already see and test if your ID is valid. Yeah,
definitely. And the cool thing was, it was all fake. So we used a fake name. We didn't use the name that we wanted to use for this project, but everything was just fake. And it was super easy to start up.
Yeah, so it's not that it's negative for the real brand you maybe want to start afterwards.
No, definitely not. I think we just deleted the Facebook page afterwards and just start a new one.
Yeah, so I think the first point of the 7 fundamentals is really about testing your ID. So if you have a good ID, don't just do it. First test it. You're able to test it for €500, €1,000, and then you know, is it a good ID? So besides the feedback of your family and friends, you can have the test on the internet. And I think if people are enthusiastic about the brand and they like the proposal, then you can go to the second step.
Yeah, but it's good to understand it's not a guarantee for success. We also seen some brands that had really amazing tests, but then it didn't work out that well.
Yeah, it's like an indicator.
Yeah, it's an indicator. It's like you get an idea especially how to set up your Facebook ads.
I think the second step is you have to start with an MVP, a minimal viable product, and try and do everything yourself. I think starting with an MVP. What we mean with that is don't try and build a Ferrari but leave it in the garage because nobody uses the features. And yeah, I think do everything yourself. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I think the most important is that we see a lot of clients, especially starting entrepreneurs, coming up with huge ideas. Okay, we want this platform with all these features and just
a loyalty program
to start
subscriptions.
Just everything. They want the big shebang, and then they go live. And when they go live, the whole priority changes. So they, whoa, okay, shit, we needed that, but we have all these crazy features. So it's always good to just start with a super basic MVP, just the simplest product as possible. What is the simplest product you can put online and see if it works, and then work from that, because then you get insights from the users, and they're always way more valuable than what you think needs to happen.
And you get real data when you're online with your platform.
Yeah, and for example, also the impact you make with new features. If we look, for example, at Parfumado, we started with a super basic platform, and then we released, I think after a year, the referral program. And it was a huge thing, and it was like the biggest marketing tool we had for Parfumado at the moment, and it had an immense impact.
Yeah, so I think definitely if you're thinking about building a platform, start small and make decisions based on real data when you're live.
Yeah.
And I think the other thing, do everything yourself. A nice example of Parfumado, he will be speaking today as well, is do everything yourself in the start. Don't hire a team yet.
No.
Get a feeling with what you're doing. So here on the left, you can see Martijn filling. So back in the days when we would get an order for a certain perfume, he would go to Easy Paris to buy a bottle and then start filling the small cans, let's say, the small sprays. And he did it himself during the nights and during the weekends.
And when it got too busy, his girlfriend joined to fill it with bottles. But he knew exactly how it worked. And also he did the ads, he did everything himself. So I really understood his business from the core.
Yeah, and the picture on the right was after a couple of months when we started shipping more perfumes. But doing everything yourself is super important, so you get a feeling with your business, you understand the platforms you're trying to disrupt on. So for example, on Facebook ads, Instagram ads, Pinterest maybe. If you don't know how it works, you cannot really you can also build your business on it.
And also not hire people to do the job for you. I think it's even harder. For example, with Parfumado, Martijn really knew the whole chain of, okay, perfumes comes in, he needs to fill it and how to do it. So the next operations manager, he know what the guy needed to do. So it was quite, I think, quite essential to the business.
Yeah, so I think number 2 of the fundamentals is start small with your platform, if we're talking about the tech platform, and try and do as much self as you can, so you understand your business and you're really able to also hire the right team in a later stage of your business.
Yeah, this for the lucky few, of course. Yeah. When you get traction, think ahead.
Yeah, so I think the step of testing your IDs, getting your first orders, that's the first 2 steps. But then, if you're lucky, you can start selling more, and you need to gear up, and you need to think 3 steps ahead. And that's super important, because if you just think 2 weeks ahead and you start building features on your e-commerce platform, but you haven't thought about the next 3 steps, it's almost impossible to build a sustainable platform.
Yeah, we see that with quite a lot of clients. I think so also with our own D2C brands, but also with the clients we work for, is that they really get mixed up in the day-to-day business, and then they hear something, okay, we want this feature, but there's not like a real ID behind it. So what do we want to do in 1 year from now, and what's the ID and the plan? So especially if you look at the platform roadmap, it's really important to have like a long-term vision. Because most businesses start, for example, with if you want to do SEO, for example. SEO is really a long-term strategy. So if you want to start with SEO, you first need to know, okay, I want to start with SEO because in a year's time I want to do some part of my revenue from SEO. So then you need to know, okay, I want to start. Then you need content writers, but you also need the tech team to prepare the platform to really be good and optimize for SEO.
Yeah, so more than, with the SEO example, it's more than just the standard meta titles and meta fields, but really optimizing the technical part for SEO.
Yeah, definitely.
And I think also thinking about your company, so having this idea, but maybe expanding to new product lines.
Yeah.
Also that impacts your whole business and your e-commerce platform.
Yeah, definitely. And also, for example, going multilingual, of course. I think that's always a big challenge. We work with Shopify a lot, and Shopify is not that good with multilingual at the moment. So if you want to go, take the next step and scale up to new countries, you really need to optimize your platform for that, and also your team. And there are a lot of technical challenges to face. Also with shipping, of course, warehousing.
Yeah.
So you really, if you have the idea, okay, we need to go abroad, you're already too late. Probably your platform first needs to be prepared, and also the shipping, laws, taxes, payment methods, a lot of things.
Yeah, because if you get traction and you get the momentum, you want to scale as fast as possible.
Yeah, definitely.
So you need to understand, okay, if I want to go to 10 different languages, 10 different countries, what is the impact on my platform, but also on my whole business architecture?
Yeah.
And if you're gonna think of it at the moment when you decide to go, it's a delay in your momentum.
Yeah, you're already too late.
And let's see, yeah, so I think we touched upon these 4 points. Is there anything we've missed?
No, I don't think so. I can.
Yep. Okay, then we go to the 4th fundamental of building a D2C platform. So be agile with your tech stack. Yeah, I think we're working every day on e-commerce platforms for the last 4 years.
Yeah.
So we've seen quite a lot of platforms. We've seen different tech stacks. And actually every time when we talk to a client, we like to think of a client as like a clean sheet.
Yeah.
We always start from zero and start asking questions to understand what does a client need, what does it want, so we can build the platform for them and not like copy paste what we did previously.
No, now you see a lot of companies do that in the digital agency world, but I think it's always each client is unique, and there are so many cool tools out there. You really need to be agile and say, okay, this is the best tool at this moment, but maybe in a year time, there's a better tool out there, and you just need to be agile so you can switch.
So a big advantage of being a D2C digital native brand is that probably the business you're working is quite small.
Yeah.
So there's not a lot of layers who have to decide if you want to have a new tool, like what we see when we work for corporates. And we inherit a certain tech stack. Yeah, sometimes we're shocked what we see. It's like outdated API connections. It is not even a SaaS solution.
No.
And when we then propose a new tool, which is the best in class, they have to talk for 2 months to get it approved.
Yeah, it's terrible. Yeah, so here are some of the examples, of course. I think a really nice example, what we've seen in our agency, was the switch from MailChimp to Klaviyo. I think when we started with Ask Phill, MailChimp was like the golden standard. And I think in a couple of months nobody used MailChimp anymore. Everybody went with Klaviyo. So it was a small, it was just a couple of months and then it totally changed. And all the business needs to adjust to this change. And for example, with Gorgeous, of course, you've seen first everybody used Zendesk and now everybody's switching to Gorgeous. So you really need to be agile to adapt to new technologies, and for, of course, Segment. We see that a lot the last couple of months because Tag Manager is free. But of course, it's really important to make sure that your data is everything, and it's getting more and more important. So even if Tag Manager is free, you just want to have the best in class, and then Segment is one of the best to do it. Yeah. So we see more and more clients onboarding on Segment, and of course,
I think also what we see, you see companies which pick their tech stack, and then keep it for the rest of their life until something breaks.
Yeah, make legacy contracts.
So I think what we always try and tell e-commerce entrepreneurs or e-commerce businesses, be on the lookout for new innovations every day, every week. Proactively check what the best or the biggest e-commerce brands in the world use.
Yeah, and we got a really nice tool for that. So I would advise everybody who's in the D2C industry to download this tool. It's a free tool, it's called Build With. You can download it in a Chrome App Store, and every time you check a website, you can check what their tech stack is. So for example, this is the Away website, and you click on the button in the right, and you would see, okay, they're using Optimizely, for example, and then you can just scroll through a list of tools to really get an idea, okay, what do they use as their tech stack? You cannot see everything, but you get like a really good idea of what they do.
Yeah, it's a good way to see what the best do, or the biggest. And then obviously it's some of them have a bigger budget, but yeah, get inspired and make sure you're always on the lookout for new innovations. I think that's something what we would advise if you're looking at your company tech stack.
Yeah, definitely.
And also try and get involved in your tech stack, not just hire someone or hire an agency who will do it for you, but try and understand why certain decisions are made, and also drive that conversation with an agency or with a developer in-house.
Yeah, I think with our best clients are always on the lookout for the newest tools and just propose, okay, we need to do this, we need to do that. Yeah. And try to innovate.
Yeah, they try to challenge us. Yeah. We try to challenge them.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then I think a topic which was touched upon yesterday as well by Arthur when we were talking about data.
Yeah.
Track and store all your data.
Yeah, I think this is one of the biggest opportunities for e-commerce in the Netherlands. We also just noticed this, I think, a couple of months ago, and we changed we sent this to all our clients already. And this is, I think, one of the biggest opportunities for a lot of e-commerce clients, and I think it's really important to track and store all your data, even if you're not using it. And we can just give you a simple example. I think if we look at the Dutch market, we see that everybody's using the product detail view, the page view, add to cart, checkout, going to the checkout steps, purchase, and that's it.
And that's where they make decisions on.
Yeah, so that's the only data they have.
So there's no difference. When someone checks a page, they don't really check which page, what they check on the page.
No, so it's really flat data. And if you, for example, take I think a really good best practice is Glossier. They track everything.
So I think if you don't know Glossier yet, it's one of the best examples of a direct-to-consumer brand in skincare in the US. And they're huge, so download the Build With app and try and check their stack. But I think these guys, they are like a perfect example. They track everything. When you land on their page, they track, okay, which component did you view? So for example, you viewed the home page, you viewed the related products, you viewed every section, they push it to the data layer. They use Segment in this case, and they just store everything. I think we have a small video for it. I will click to the next slide.
So here you can see if the video is playing. No. But for example now...
Maybe I can play it here if I click on it. Can you guys play the video?
Oh yeah, here. Oh, no.
Come back. Yeah, can you click it?
Oh.
No.
Oh. But you can see the Glossier website, and now when you land on it, it already tracked, okay, I'm landed on it, I come from the Netherlands, but also, okay, you viewed the hero banner. So the first module on the page and the first component. And then when you scroll down, the second component will be sent to the data layer. So it knows, okay, you viewed the second component. And when you then go to the product page, for example, here you go, cool. So now it will push, okay, you viewed this image gallery with products, and now it will push, okay, you viewed the product hero.
And here even...
Oh yeah, so when you view a video, they will push even, okay, video viewed. and they just, now you add to cart, they also push that of course, it's like a basic tracking element. And yeah, here you can see we use the segment tracking to show all the events they track. It's definitely something I would advise. Download the segment tool from the Chrome store, go to Clocher, and check out all the events they track. So for example, here they tracked the video, but they also track how long you watch the video. It's really impressive, and it's like a long list of events they use.
So actually everything on the page, if you're watching a video, if you're seeing suggested products, which images, they track everything.
They track it all, and they store it, and they probably store it somewhere in the data warehouse. But the most important key takeaway from this is that they store the data somewhere, and it doesn't, I think everybody needs to do this, and it doesn't matter if you use the data now, but it's useful when you want to use it later on. So you don't have to have a data scientist to do this. It's super easy to implement for everybody. But then later on, you can say, okay, what's the conversion rate of people who watch this video if you compare it to people who didn't watch the video on the product page? So just make like a small use case of what you can do with this data, what we just seen, is to say, okay, let's say all the people who watch the video on the product page have a conversion rate of 2.3%, and all the people who didn't watch the video on the product page have a conversion of 0.9%. So what can you now do with this data? You can, for example, make a retargeting campaign for everybody who didn't view the video directly to a section with the video, or a page with the video on it, or maybe put the video as the first image instead of the second image.
So actually based on what has been tracked, so from this example, people who visited the product page, some of them only clicked images, but maybe so the ones who also viewed the video, we see that conversion is much higher.
Yeah.
So then based on that, you can make decisions in your marketing or in the structure of your website. Like, okay, we see that people who saw the video maybe understand the product better, more likely to buy, and then, like you said, maybe move it more up on the homepage, or the first thing you see is a video.
Yeah, for example. And
but you can do this for anything then?
For anything. So it's really important to start capturing the data. So I think the next slide sums it all up.
Let's see if it works.
Oh, yes. Even if you don't use it, store it.
Yeah, I think we got inspired as well by Arthur yesterday.
Yeah.
But I think, it's super important. So if you haven't done it yet, start doing it. And then we go to the next fundamental, number 6. Yeah, invest and scale with professionals. Yeah, I think it's quite often when we talk about tools, which are like the best in class. Also, if you check out, for example, Clocher, see what tools they use. Probably most of the tools are much more expensive than you're used to. As a starting entrepreneur, you want to have the cheapest.
Yeah, so for example, Clocher uses Segment. It's quite expensive if you compare it, especially to the free alternative of Google Tag Manager. But also Contentful, they use it as a CMS. That's also quite expensive. And a lot of times we get feedback, or we make a tech stack or a proposed tech stack for a client, and then they say, yeah, it's really expensive. We want a cheaper alternative. So for example, with Contentful, they would say, okay, why don't we use Prismic, for example? And in the beginning, when we started with headless development, we used Prismic, but it was really
It was cheap, but it didn't work the way you wanted.
No, because Prismic cost €6 a month, and Contentful was €500 a month. So we thought, okay, we can do the same with Prismic as with Contentful, but it was a really bad mistake.
Yeah.
And we paid the price for it. We needed to rebuild 3 websites from Prismic because they have a lousy image API, and they're also really bad in translating content. And Contentful was just really good at it. So it was a really...
Yeah, what we always say to our clients when they when they say it's too expensive, we say the price what you pay, but the value is what you get.
Yes, exactly.
So don't only look at the price, but see what is the added value and how can a right investment bring your company further.
Yeah, definitely. And I think especially with these kinds of tools, it's not that when you start up and building your MVP, you need to start with the expensive tools. but it's especially for the companies who really want to scale up and take the next step and just, yeah.
So maybe at the start, use the cheap alternative, and when you get traction, invest in the right tools.
Yeah, invest in the right tools, and then you can really scale, and you're not dependent on lousy tools, but just use the best tools.
And invest in the right team.
Yeah, definitely the team of
scaling
course.
up.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think we've come to point number 7, and also something we heard yesterday from Esther and Anna, and also what we saw when we started our agency. And I think it's in every business, but especially if you're building a D2C business, whatever you do, don't stop. It's if you come to this step and you're scaling your business. It's a proven concept. People like it. It's just a matter of going.
Going, yeah. Don't stop.
Yeah.
There's not much we can add.
And I think a good example is the big D2C brands from the US. I think most of them, since the D2C industry is quite young, relatively.
Yeah.
But if we see here, Casper, one of the biggest mattress D2C brands in the world. Away and Glossier, they're like billion dollar companies, and they're still growing.
Yeah, and the shoe company as well. You now see them even with stores here in Amsterdam.
Yeah.
So that's quite impressive.
Yeah, so I think to sum up real quick, it's like make sure you test your business assumptions.
Yeah.
Super important. Start with an MVP. Don't start with a Ferrari, but keep it in the garage. Think 3 steps ahead. When you've seen that the MVP is working, be agile with your tech stack. So always open to new innovations and be on the lookout how you can improve your platform. Track and store all data, of course. And if you're ready to take action on it, of course, try and do that. Yeah. And invest and scale with professionals. And of course, the last thing, whatever you do, don't stop. I think that was the 7 fundamentals. We have something to add. I think we're there.
Yeah, just don't stop.
Are there any questions from the audience? Can I see them on the screen? I can see a screensaver.
That's a beautiful
like background.
That's a beautiful screensaver, at least.
Nice view. We're waiting for the screen to connect, but maybe. Maybe we have some insight number 8.
Insider. Whew, I need to think about that. Oh, maybe here. The first question. I think this. You like this one?
Yeah.
It's your favorite
Where
question.
does the name Ask Phill comes from? Yeah, we don't always tell that story, but yeah. Let's start with that one. Yeah, so Paul and me started our business back in 2016 when we went to China for some kind of exploration trip to the biggest import-export fair in the world. And I think in Guangzhou, nobody's speaking English. There's no Facebook, there's no Google. And since we were starting our business, we rented the cheapest hotel room. And the hotel owner was super excited that we as Western guests came in, and they never had Western guests in that Chinese hotel. And I can imagine, because the toilet and the shower was the same. So there was a hole in the floor below the shower, and we had one bed which we shared for 4 weeks.
It was cozy.
It was very cozy, and but we didn't know how to get around town. So getting a cab, going to a restaurant, it was quite hard. And yeah, we needed a translator, but
Yeah.
the owner of the hotel or the hotel manager was called Phill. And he said, okay guys, he was so excited that we were a Western guest and he was able to speak English. So he said, okay guys, here's my card. If you run into any trouble or you need help, just call me. So every time we would go to a restaurant or in the taxi, and we had trouble with translations, we would say, oh, we have to ask Phill. And then we would call him and he would order the food or he would tell the directions to go for the cab.
Yeah.
So that's where the name comes from. I see we have a laptop here with the next questions. Let's see. Which industry is, in your opinion, the most interesting industry to start a D2C brand? Currently,
yeah, I think probably healthcare or the vitamin industry with Corona.
Yeah.
I thought we looked into that to really do something with vitamins. We had like a really cool use case. But I think now, especially now, it's way more relevant to do something in vitamins industry.
And I think it's also, so starting somewhere, you need to have a passion for it. You need to like it. That's the basics, I think. But also somewhere where you can, disrupt an industry. And I think, like you said, vitamins is quite old school. Medicines also quite old school. So if you can find a new way to apply this business model, I think it can be a hit.
Yeah, for sure. And I think there are some great examples out there already. You have Ritual from the States. You have, with the packages, you get personalized vitamins. It's
Take Care Of.
Take Care Of, yeah, it's a really good company. So
good examples in the States and not really yet in Europe.
No.
I will do a last question before we move to the panel. Let's see. Hey Phill, what does the data team of your agency do for your clients? I think what we explained already a bit. I think that data team is in the first place responsible for making sure all the tracking is set up correctly, all the events to be in the right place.
Yeah, so we make sure that all the tracking what we just showed, that we really track everything and then store it somewhere in a data warehouse and that you can use it later. I think that's the first part that we do and that's where we now focused on because the data team is still quite new. And then the next step would be really to visualize the data and really get insights from it, to like more dashboarding. And of course the next step will be really doing experiments with the data we have.
Yeah, so really see how can you use the data which you store to take action and increase your sales.
Yeah, and then in the end of course do machine learning, but that will be
the next step.
The next step.
Okay, Paul, thanks for having this conversation. It was nice.
Yeah.
I hope everyone behind the computer also enjoyed it.